Thanks, Bob. And I just want to say it's been such a pleasure working with you and the team for the last 9 years, co-hosting this event, and we look forward to many more. James, after seeing that video, I was really actually kind of hoping we could wrap this conference up with a bit of an Oprah moment. You have a car, you have a car. But maybe next year? So just a quick bit of context setting before we get into the last part of the conference. And if there's one thing that's been made abundantly clear throughout the course of the conference and beyond, it's that we're in the decade of delivery. However, what we also know is that even though awareness and the will to act seem to be at an all-time high, there's still a sizable gap between what needs to be done and the actions and the pledges that are being made by countries around the world. And I think that's probably why we're all here. This is a crisis of such scope and complexity that it can only be fully addressed by working across as many fronts as we can. We need everyone, everywhere, doing everything they can right now. And as Dr. Cobb said a couple of days ago, we really are in an and moment. Corporate leadership, state leadership, city leadership, these are all absolutely essential if we're going to create a more sustainable future, partly because your initiatives reduce emissions, obviously, but also because your actions have a ripple effect beyond your own communities. I'm quoting Rachel Kite. You are providing the steady drumbeat of what can be done, and you're also creating the kind of enabling environment that helps our national governments and international institutions go all in on climate. I had the pleasure of hearing Varshini Prakash from the Sunrise Movement speak a couple of weeks ago. She is much younger than I am, but also much wiser, which isn't too hard. But she said that the cynics will kill us faster than the carbon will, but that the antidote to that cynicism is a can-do attitude. And I think the senator touched on this morning, but that's exactly the kind of attitude that's exemplified by the climate leaders in this country and in this room. So I think that's a cause for celebration, which we saw last night, and also a cause for optimism as we look to the future and to today's discussion. We're going to end on a high note. So just to give you a bit of a roadmap for this morning, this is a session in 3 parts. We're going to have a special announcement, then we're going to have a short presentation, and then we're going to have a conversation about the nature of climate leadership in 2020, and hopefully have some time for questions. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce to the stage Diane Leopold, Executive Vice President and Co-Chief Operating Officer of Dominion Energy. Diane is a leading voice on innovation and environmental sustainability and has spearheaded the industry's most aggressive plan for reducing methane emissions. Breaking news, as of this week, Diane is also serving as the chair of the American Gas Association. So please join me in welcoming Diane to the stage.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here today, and I thank everybody for hanging with it and staying for this last session. Thank you to Bob and everybody at C2ES for your outstanding leadership. Thanks to all of you and others, the private sector, the environmental community, and leading climate scientists are working together on common sense climate solutions. We're sharing ideas and even coming up with new ones together. Most of all, we're making a real difference. The CEO Climate Dialogue is a perfect example. For the first time in a long time, the private sector and the environmental community are united in support of a comprehensive federal climate policy. We're making progress, but we cannot wait. We must take action now, and the private sector must lead the way. At Dominion Energy, we're proud to be part of developing the solution. Our customers and our communities deserve a clean environment today and a sustainable planet for future generations. It's our responsibility to deliver on that promise. A few weeks ago, Dominion Energy announced our own commitment to achieve net zero emissions across all of our electric and natural gas operations by 2050. We're taking a comprehensive approach to tackle both carbon and methane. We are focused on 3 steps on this journey. Step 1, we must lower our emissions as much as possible and as fast as possible. We've already cut our carbon emissions in half since 2005 and our methane emissions by a quarter since 2010. We've replaced most of our coal fleet with high-efficiency, state-of-the-art natural gas units. We've built the fourth largest solar fleet in the nation. And we've launched one of the most aggressive programs in the industry to reduce methane emissions from our natural gas infrastructure network. But that's in the past. We need to act now to protect the future. We are not only focused on the end game, but also the path. We can't wait and hope for some unknown technology to get us there in the final decade. On the electric side of our business, we're expanding renewables as fast as we possibly can. We're building the largest offshore wind project in the nation off the coast of Virginia, and we're bringing 3,000 megawatts of new solar online over the next few years. Just to put that in perspective, that's enough zero-carbon electricity to power nearly 1.5 million homes at peak output. We're also extending the licenses of our nuclear fleet, which provides zero-carbon electricity to 1.5 million more, and we're continuing to replace coal with natural gas. For our natural gas infrastructure, we've laid out a clear plan to slash methane emissions by 65% over the next 10 years and 80% in the next 20 years. Our program includes a significant expansion of our leak detection program and purchasing equipment to reduce or virtually eliminate methane that used to escape to the atmosphere during our maintenance practices. These actions are 100% voluntary, and the costs have not yet been approved by the regulators, but we've already started them because we know that they're the right thing to do. So step 2, as we focus on an immediate plan to reduce our own emissions, we can help lower other industries' carbon footprints as fast as possible too. We all know about the 80-20 rule. Once we have a path to lower our own emissions, we can move to focus on supporting others. Because of our infrastructure, utilities are uniquely capable of supporting the transition of the industrial, agricultural, and transportation sectors to a low-carbon future. Examples include the rapid build-out of electric vehicle charging infrastructure and the conversion of Virginia's school buses from diesel to electric. In addition, we're partnering with Smithfield Foods, Vanguard Renewables, and others to reduce methane emissions from our nation's farms. These partnerships plan to invest $700 million over the next few years in projects that are actually carbon negative, meaning they capture more carbon than they emit. These are big investments we're making to bend the greenhouse gas emissions curve as fast as possible. Step 3 is to get to net zero. We're actively engaged in exploring new and emerging technologies to get across the finish line. We're piloting large-scale energy storage and supporting significant studies in hydrogen, carbon capture, and advanced nuclear. We're evaluating the role programs such as reforestation can play to help the planet. And we're working with policymakers to support and help spur these technological advances even further. But we must acknowledge that as much as we want a simple result, the energy grid is highly complex and the solutions are not easy. In fact, there is no one right solution. We need to stay focused on the path and not allow unintended consequences of a higher carbon footprint or threaten reliability because we let perfect get in the way of great progress. Nor should we be satisfied that great is good enough. Investments in a broad range of technology solutions is critical to a resilient, lasting success. As you can probably tell, I'm passionate about the solutions that can make the most difference as quickly as possible. We can't wait for new technologies to become commercially viable before we act. There's plenty we can and must do now. It is in the relentless drive to incrementally lower emissions that we will get there. Climate change is an incredible challenge. I truly believe we can change the future for the better. The solutions are within our reach, and there's greater resolve than ever before to put them into action. We must keep working together to build the future we all want to see. Thank you.